If someone asked you a simple question, who wrote the Bible? What would your answer be? For millions of people, the answer comes instantly. God. Others might say, Moses or the prophets. It sounds like a simple question with a simple answer, but the truth is far more fascinating because the Bible didn't appear overnight. It didn't fall from the sky as a single book. It wasn't written by one person. It wasn't even written in one language. Instead, it took more than 1,000 years, across kingdoms, wars, exiles, empires, and countless generations, to become the book that millions of people hold in their hands today. And once you understand that journey, you may never look at the Bible the same way again. Today, we think of the Bible as a single book, but that's not how it began. Imagine walking into an ancient library. Rows of scrolls fill the shelves. Some tell the stories of kings. Others preserve ancient laws. Some are poems. Others are personal letters. Each scroll was written at a different time by different people, for different audiences. What we call the Bible is actually a collection of these writings, a library rather than a single book. Every book has its own purpose, its own style, its own history, and that explains why reading from Genesis to Revelation can feel so different from one chapter to the next. You're not reading one author's story, you're stepping into many different worlds. Before these words were written on scrolls, they lived in memory. Parents told the stories to their children. Priests taught them during worship. Elders repeated them year after year. In the ancient world, memory wasn't just important, it was essential. Long before printing presses or books existed, entire generations preserved their history by speaking it aloud. Many civilizations did the same. Only later were these traditions written down. Not all at once, not by one person, but gradually, over hundreds of years, each new scroll became another piece of a much larger story, a story that was still unfolding. When people ask who wrote the first books of the Bible, one name almost always appears. Moses, for thousands of years, Jewish and Christian tradition has connected him with the first 5 books of Scripture. These books are known as the Torah or the Pentateuch. They describe creation, the flood, Abraham, the Exodus, and the journey to the Promised Land. For many believers, Moses remains their author. But history asks another question. Could such ancient texts have been shaped over a much longer period? That question has sparked one of the biggest debates in biblical studies. Many historians believe these books may have been edited and compiled across several centuries. They point to differences in writing style, repeated stories and passages that seem to describe events long after Moses' lifetime. This doesn't automatically prove who wrote each section, but it suggests the process may have been more complex than a single author writing everything alone. Today, different perspectives still exist. Some follow religious tradition. Others follow historical research. Understanding both doesn't weaken the story. It helps explain why this question continues to fascinate people around the world. To understand this debate, you have to remember one important fact. Ancient books were copied by hand. Every word, every sentence, every scroll for centuries, trained scribes carefully preserved these writings. Sometimes they copied older texts, sometimes they combined historical records, sometimes they updated place names, so new generations could understand them. This was normal in the ancient world. It wasn't considered changing history, it was preserving it. That is why many historians believe the Torah reached its final form through a long process. Not because its stories were invented, but because they were carefully preserved, edited, and passed down through generations. And soon, Israel itself would become a kingdom. As Israel grew into a nation, new stories were added. Kings ruled from Jerusalem. Armies marched across the land. Victories were celebrated. Defeats were remembered. Writers recorded political events alongside spiritual lessons. Books like Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings describe the rise and fall of Israel. They introduce famous figures like Saul, David, and Solomon. But these books do more than tell history. They ask a deeper question: what happens when a nation forgets the values that built it? That question echoes through every generation. Alongside kings stood another group of remarkable people, the prophets. Many imagined prophets as people predicting the future. Sometimes they did, but most of the time they challenged the present. They confronted corruption. They defended the poor. They warned rulers about injustice. Their messages were often unpopular. Some were ignored. Others were persecuted. Yet their words survived for centuries, not because they were easy to hear, but because later generations believed those warnings still mattered, and history would soon prove many of them right. Not every book in the Bible tells the story of kings or battles. Some explore the human heart. The book of Psalms is filled with songs, prayers, and cries for hope. Proverbs offers wisdom for everyday life. Ecclesiastes asks difficult questions about purpose, success, and mortality. These writings reveal something surprising. The Bible isn't only about nations. It's also about ordinary people, their fears, their doubts, their joy, and the search for meaning. Questions asked thousands of years ago that many people still ask today. Then came one of the darkest moments in Israel's history. The Babylonian Empire conquered Jerusalem. The temple was destroyed. Many people were taken into exile. It seemed like everything had been lost, but something unexpected happened. Far from their homeland, Jewish communities became even more determined to preserve their sacred writings. Scribes copied ancient scrolls with extraordinary care. Their history became their identity. Their scriptures became their connection to home. Without that determination, much of the Bible might never have survived. For hundreds of years, Jewish scribes devoted their lives to preserving the scriptures. A single mistake could mean starting an entire scroll again. Every letter mattered. Every line was carefully checked. This dedication helped preserve texts through wars, invasions, and the passing of empires. Generations came and went. Kingdoms disappeared, but the writings endured. Long before modern printing, these ancient manuscripts were already being copied with remarkable precision. Their goal wasn't to create something new, it was to protect something they believed was sacred. Soon, however, history entered a long period of silence, or at least it seemed that way. After the last prophets of the Old Testament, centuries passed without new biblical books. Power shifted from one empire to another. Persia ruled, then Greece, later came Rome. The world changed dramatically. Languages spread across continents. Cultures mixed like never before. Yet Jewish communities continued reading the ancient scriptures. They waited, they hoped. Many believed God would act again. Then, in a small corner of the Roman Empire, a teacher from Galilee began changing history. His name was Jesus, and a completely new chapter was about to begin. The story of Jesus wasn't written while he was alive. It was first remembered, shared, repeated, just as earlier generations had preserved their history. Years later, those memories became written accounts. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, each gospel tells the same central story from a different perspective. Each writer focused on a different audience. Together, they create a richer picture rather than a single biography. Their differences don't erase the message. They reveal that multiple witnesses remembered the same extraordinary events. After Jesus' death and resurrection, the Christian movement spread rapidly across the Roman Empire. New churches appeared in distant cities. With growth came questions. How should believers live? How should churches solve conflicts? Many of these answers came through letters. The Apostle Paul wrote to communities facing real challenges. Corinth, Rome, Galatia, Philippi. His letters were practical, personal, and deeply connected to everyday life. They weren't written as chapters of a future Bible. They were written to help real people at a specific moment in history. Paul wasn't the only writer of the New Testament. Other letters were linked to Peter, James, John, and Jude. Together, these writings encourage believers facing persecution, division, and uncertainty. Meanwhile, the early church carefully preserved these documents. Churches copied them, shared them, read them aloud during worship. Over time, some writings became widely accepted across Christian communities. Others did not. This gradual process would eventually shape one of history's most influential collections of books. But one important question still remained: who decided what belonged in the Bible? No single person chose the books of the Bible overnight. The process took centuries. Early Jewish communities gradually recognized the books that became the Hebrew Scriptures. The early Christian church followed a similar path. Churches across different regions compared the writings they had received. They asked important questions. Was this connected to the apostles? Did it agree with the teachings already accepted? Was it widely used among believers? Over time, a shared collection emerged. Some books were included, others were left out. The Bible was not created in a single meeting. It was recognized through a long historical process. The Bible was never written in English or Latin. Its oldest books were written mainly in Hebrew. Some passages were written in Aramaic, the language spoken throughout much of the ancient Near East. The New Testament was written in Greek, the common language of the Eastern Roman Empire. Centuries later, translators began bringing these writings into other languages. Each translation aimed to preserve the meaning of the original text. That is why different Bible versions may use different words, while communicating the same central message. The journey of Scripture continued with every new translation. One reason historians can study the Bible with confidence is the number of ancient manuscripts that still exist. Thousands of handwritten copies have survived. Some are nearly complete. Others preserve only small fragments. By comparing these manuscripts, scholars can identify copying mistakes and recover the earliest readings with remarkable accuracy. Archaeological discoveries, including the Dead Sea Scrolls, have also helped confirm how carefully many biblical texts were preserved across centuries. These discoveries continue to deepen our understanding of the Bible's remarkable history. So, who really wrote the Bible? The honest answer is more complex than many people expect. According to faith, the Scriptures were inspired by God. According to history, they were written by many human authors across many centuries. These two perspectives answer different questions. One speaks about divine inspiration. The other explores the historical process. Together, they reveal something extraordinary. The Bible is not the work of one generation. It is the product of centuries of faith, memory, writing, preservation, and dedication. And that is exactly what makes its story so remarkable. The next time you open a Bible, remember this: you're not holding a single book. You're holding a library, a collection of voices separated by centuries, written by kings, prophets, poets, scribes, and ordinary people whose words outlived mighty empires. Whether you read it as sacred scripture, as history, or simply out of curiosity, its journey is one of humanity's greatest achievements. Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't who wrote the Bible. Perhaps it's how those ancient words survived thousands of years to reach your hands today. And maybe that's where the real story begins. History is filled with forgotten stories. Subscribe and let's uncover them together. See you in the next chapter.